Okay, everyone, so we'll come back to our third session of the day. And I just wanted to very quickly say thank you to Amanda for coming, because she's come all the way up from New York State from Cornell University to join us today. And we're just thrilled to have her here. So please continue to share your tweets on the hashtag GangPYA. There's lots of great traffic already. And without further ado, we'll get started. Thanks,
Thank you. And thank you both for having me and asking me to speak today. Like Erin mentioned, I'm Amanda Massa. I'm from Cornell University, and I am the Assistant Director of Student and Young Alumni Programs there. We're a team of 4 people. So I have my hands in a little bit of everything, students, young alumni, and we actually also manage the second decade of alumni, which are 10 to 20 years out, and those are my peeps. So we start as students, go to young alumni, which we also define as 0 to 10 years out, and then the second decade are still in our shop so they can feel young still. So just a really brief history of who we are at Cornell and Student and Young Alumni Programs. We were established in 2009, so we're relatively young in comparison to a lot of the other program areas at Cornell. So since we're just 6 years old, it kind of gives us the freedom to try new things. If it doesn't work, tweak it or get rid of it completely. And since we're not so established as some of the other areas at Cornell and in class, student, and young alumni programs. So we focus on continuity and connections, and we work with undergraduates, like I mentioned, young alumni, second decade alumni, and I took our overall program mission straight from our work plans that are due at the end of this month. So our overall program mission is to cultivate current students to become active future alumni, outstanding university ambassadors, and volunteer leaders, as well as to create programming to engage recent graduates in order to keep them involved as dedicated ambassadors for the university. And we also like to connect students with our alumni, young and old, teach philanthropy to our students, introduce them to our vast alumni network, steward, serve, and move alumni through our volunteer pipeline 0 to 20 years past graduation. So this is just an overview of what I'm going to hopefully briefly touch on today. Student workshops that we offer to our students from our office, how to work with their alumni, and how to become involved young alumni after they graduate. Student to alumni connections, how we connect students with alumni at different events and through different programs. Our senior class campaign, which is our senior gift. However, it's not a gift in kind, it's simply giving back to the university in dollars, but we just focus on participation and not dollars, but I'll touch on that when I get there. The student to the young alumni transition, so how we transition them from seniors to young alumni volunteer roles, and some of the things that we do right after they graduate. So we hold 2 student organization workshops, one in the fall and one in the spring, and that is run by our Associate Director of Student Programs, Corey Earl, who is a very recognizable face to all of the students. They all love him. He actually teaches a course on campus that's in very, very high demand to all seniors. It fills up almost immediately. So it's really great to have him in our office because students just want to do things with him. So we're like, oh, well, join the senior class campaign or come to a student workshop led by Corey Earl, and people will simply go just because he's there. And so those workshops, we talk to student organizations and how they can best connect with their alumni, how to communicate with them, if they want help fundraising, we help them with that. We very much discourage student orgs from trying to fundraise on their own. They need to get our help with that. And just basically how to work with their alumni body. The Life After the Hill workshop is a workshop that we hold at the end of the spring semester for graduating seniors. And we introduce them to the Cornell Alumni Network and provide many resources and opportunities. So some of the opportunities that we talk to them about, we bring our colleague from the Cornell Alumni Admissions Ambassador Network, and he talks to them about what that is. And that is a group of alumni, thousands of alumni across the country who talk to prospective students of Cornell. And it's just a real easy way to get involved. Many alumni do it, they love it, they think it's a great experience. We mentioned some upcoming events such as homecoming. This year we are welcoming our new president, so homecoming and inauguration are actually going to be the same weekend. The Cornell Alumni Leadership Conference, which we hold for 3 years in the same city and then we move to a different city. So for the past 3 years, it's been in Boston. For the next 3 years, it will be in Philadelphia. Then I think it will move to DC. So we kind of talked to them about some of the upcoming events. We also point them to our website, alumni.cornell.edu, where they can search for events. They can find lots of resources there. We tell them about our regional clubs. We have regional clubs all across the country. Some are more active than others, but really, no matter where they move, they're going to have some sort of Cornell network, unless they're in like Antarctica or something. We talk about our diverse alumni associations, which are also very active. And the Cornell Club of New York, which is actually not a regional club, it's dues paying actual physical building, which can get kind of confusing because there is a regional club in New York City that is not the Cornell Club of New York. It's called NYC Cornellians. So NYC Cornellians is free. Anybody who lives in New York City is a member, whereas the Cornell Club of New York is a dues paying club. However, we do offer discounted membership for young alumni to the Cornell Club of New York because most of our alumni are concentrated in New York City. We have about 30,000 alumni in New York City alone. We also tell them about our volunteer website, CU Volunteer, which is pretty new and it's operated by our Office of Volunteer Programs. And it really makes it easy to find volunteer opportunities across the country. They go in, they build a profile, they choose their interests and what they were involved in school, and the website matches them to volunteer opportunities in their regions. We also point them to our Cornell Alumni LinkedIn group where people share discussions, events, interesting tidbits. It's a great way to network virtually. And lastly, we really encourage our students to update their information as soon as they graduate, because that's a big problem that we have, and I'm sure many of you have, is getting accurate information for our young alumni because they move all over the place and they might have a job somewhere for 1 year and then move somewhere new. We just really want to drive home to them that we need to know where you are so we can tell you what's going on in your area. And we are conceptualizing a student leadership conference. Hopefully will take place this year, well, 2016. We are in the planning stages of that. So I don't have a whole lot to talk about with that, but basically we're going to offer a student leadership conference on campus with 2 tracks, invite some young alumni back, and have training opportunities, networking opportunities, but that's in the early planning stages. So check back, email me, I'll update you if you're interested in that. So student to alumni connections is very important for us. We think it's really important to introduce students to alumni, to network, to see that the Cornell network is vast and there's lots of resources out there for them. So one of the programs that we offer is called the Cornell Women's Network, CWN, so we're crazy about acronyms at Cornell, as I'm sure everybody around this room is too. So I won't use the acronyms for you, which I have a tendency to do in our office, and people are like, what are you talking about? So the Cornell Women's Network brings together a diverse group of alumni to interact with junior and senior year students and share insights on career and other aspects of life after Cornell. And those events are hosted by alumni and also facilitated by alumni. And we invite back juniors and seniors to participate in the events with them during their breaks in January in their hometowns, usually in major metropolitan areas such as New York, Boston, DC. And it's just a great way for the students to interact with successful alumni and get advice and networking opportunities. Homecoming is a great big event that we piggyback off of, and we offer a young alumni tailgate there. We offer lots of student events and some networking opportunities with CACO, the Cornell Association of Class Officers, which I'll get to in a second. The Cornell Alumni Leadership Conference, which I mentioned before, this year taking place in Philadelphia. We invite senior class campaign officers, leaders of diverse student groups, and undergraduate class councils to attend the Cornell Alumni Leadership Conference. They're able to network with notable alumni who may be trustees, council members, other volunteer leaders, and sometimes the students present at some of the meals or sessions. It's a really great opportunity for them, and they really kind of get jazzed up about it. It's a fun event, but it's also really worthwhile, and they get a lot out of it. Reunion. So Ryan actually mentioned earlier that we do a Reunion Zero, where we invite our most recent graduating class to experience their very first reunion as alumni. So they've just graduated, and if they're still in town or if they want to come back, we invite them to reunion. We give them a discounted price, and they're invited to all of the university-wide events. They're invited to the tent parties, which is a really big draw for them. So free beer, free snacks, free entertainment on Friday and Saturday nights. And we also sometimes have networking events with some of the older classes that they will be reuniting with every 5 years. And it's just a really great opportunity for them to see their very first reunion. We usually have about 6,000 alumni come back to campus for our reunions. And the discounted price is really great for them as well. And this year we actually also we didn't call it Reunion 1, but we did invite the class of 2014 back with the class of 2015 at the same price. So we'll see if we'll do that in the future too. Cornell Cares Day is a day of public service that takes place in January when students are home on their breaks. And it's organized by our regional clubs and the Cornell Public Service Center. And students and alumni work on service projects in their hometowns. And it's a really great way for students and alumni to get together and do something really valuable for their home communities. And this year, hundreds of students and alumni participated at 37 sites across the country. So regional clubs organize their own events where they invite students. They also organize student send-offs for freshmen, which sometimes alumni attend. And so it's their very first, like, hey, Cornell is awesome, you're gonna love it. That's their first experience of that, and a lot of times alumni are part of those events. And as I mentioned before, our diverse alumni associations are really active and a lot of times involve their students in their events. One example is the Cornell Asian Alumni Association. They hold a Pan-Asian banquet and they invite students to that every year. And lastly, our Cornell Association of Class Officers, also known as CACO, host events during homecoming and calc to connect with students. At calc, they have a dinner and they get together with all of our senior class campaign leaders and network. And the great thing about CACO is it's a wide range of ages. So, you know, the senior class campaign leaders can meet with somebody who's 35 or they can meet with somebody who's 85. And they can see that you're a Cornellian for life. You're not just a Cornellian during your 4 years. So moving on to our senior class campaign that I mentioned before, the aim of our senior class campaign is to teach students about how the university is funded, because a lot of times students don't understand university finances and they're kind of like, well, you know, my tuition should cover the cost of my education, when in reality, that's just not the reality. And without gifts, we would not be the university that we are, and they wouldn't have the great education that they're receiving. So we teach students the importance of philanthropy and volunteerism during their senior year. And the focus is on participation and not dollars. So we really, you know, we start at a $25 ask, and if the student is not comfortable with that, you go down from there and just ask them to give at whatever level they're comfortable. And participation for us usually ranges from about 30 to 50%, and it really depends on the commitment level and work of our student volunteers. We don't do any soliciting. It's all our students out there asking other seniors for the gifts. And you know, sometimes they're really motivated and gung-ho, and then other times, you know, they're just so busy and they have so much to do. But what we do is we have an executive board of the officers, and it's their job to teach our general body members about why philanthropy is important, how to make the ask, and teach them about university finances. And our executive board and our general body are our ambassadors who go out and ask the other seniors for gifts. And so yeah, that's our senior class campaign. So going off of the senior class campaign, which is SCC, we transition our SCC officers once they graduate to alumni class officers, along with other recently graduated seniors. So the senior class campaign officers are invited to apply for young alumni officer positions after graduation. And we're going to change this up in the future. In the past, we have automatically made our presidents our young alumni class presidents for the next 5 years. But we think that we're going to change that going forward. Just have students apply for what they want to do. And CU Volunteer has made this process really easy. So this is the first year we're using CU Volunteer for nominations for class councils, and it allows for students to go in and self-nominate for roles that make the most sense for them. And it also allows us to identify new volunteers that we don't already know, because probably familiar with this, but the same names tend to pop up over and over again, and we're always looking for new people. We know that they're out there, but just identifying them is the hard part. So CU Volunteer is a great way to do this. We're also looking at event attendance and seeing who is coming to event after event after event who we don't know, and maybe reaching out to them and saying, hey, you come to all of our events. Are you interested in volunteering for the university? And I would also just recommend logging on to that site and just taking a look at it. I don't know if you can actually go past the landing page, but if you'd like, I could send Aaron and Ryan screenshots of what it looks like. It's a pretty cool interface, and it's a really awesome tool. So kudos to our Office of Volunteer Programs for implementing that. After graduation, we send out a number of welcome emails from the Student and Young Alumni Programs Office, and that is signed by our Associate Director of Student Programs, who I mentioned earlier, and our Associate Director of Young Alumni Programs, who attends events all senior year, so he can be there meeting our students, so he can say, hey, when you graduate, like, I'm your guy. Give them their card. They know that they can reach out to him. He's really friendly and helpful guy. He's also a young alumnus, and he just came to us from a campus position, so he already knows a lot of students. He already knows a lot of young alumni. which puts him in a great position to be their manager for the next 10 years. There are also welcome emails from our regional programs and from some of the colleges, just saying, here are some resources for you, congratulations on graduating, and just really welcoming them to our alumni network. We also hold physical welcome events in New York City, Boston, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and the regional clubs will offer them in other areas too, like Los Angeles, Denver have pretty active clubs. And we also mail our Cornell Alumni magazine to all recent graduates, and we take the money from our budget to mail them those magazines. Our Cornell Alumni magazine is not funded by the university, it's funded by class dues. So that's why we pay for that, for them to get their Cornell, first issue of the Cornell Alumni magazine. And so I think we have about 10 minutes for questions, if anybody has any.
I have a question about the volunteer website that matches your volunteers with what they're interested in. Do you always have goals for them? Like, because we have a site as well, and both, like, alumni can go on and see if there's some opportunities for them. We don't always have goals for them as to what they're interested in. So I'm wondering, and we have a problem with that because we want to keep them in the loop, but do you have no problem with that?
We usually have roles for them, like you'll go on and you'll see like, this is a 60% match for you, or this is a 100% match for you, whatever. So, you know, it might not be a 100% match, but there's usually opportunities for them on there. And there's also, we're still working on this, but something called Done in a Day volunteer opportunities. So that would be something like the Cornell Cares Day, or volunteering for our United Way of Tompkins County. And it's really a done in a day opportunity. And those usually are fit for anyone who wants to take part in that.
And do you find that site do you get lots of traffic on that site? Like,
Well,
how do you drive them there?
It's still pretty new. So what we did this year with our nominations for class officers for our 0s and 5s is one of my classes, the class of 2000, decided to do all their nominations on CU Volunteer. And it worked out really well for us, and it also identified some people that aren't in like the, I don't want to say clique, but you know, they're not the names that keep popping up. They don't all know each other, and it's really great to,
That's okay.
yeah. So the way that we drove people is we just sent out an email to all members of the class of 2000 and said, if you're interested in serving on your class council, here are the position descriptions. Go ahead and build a profile and CU Volunteer and nominate yourself for what interests you.
We had a question come in on Twitter. Could you talk more about the SCC committee structure and training that those students receive?
Sure. So the structure actually kind of changes every year depending on who our volunteers are. This year we had an executive board of, I believe, 12. That consists of 2 presidents, and then we have different roles for different people. You know, social media, thanking people. I don't remember what the official title of that one was. But it just kind of depends on how many people we think will fit in executive board positions. Training, we hold training sessions led by our Associate Director of Student Programs. And we basically, it's kind of like this. We have a PowerPoint. We talk to them about university finances, how to make the ask. And then we have team building activities with them so that they can really be comfortable with one another. It's a really great opportunity for seniors to make new friends their senior year, because a lot of times we really try to get people from all across campus. We don't want just, engineers is a bad example, but we don't want just people in arts and sciences who are all in this certain sorority, who are all on the track team. You know, we want people who participate in different areas of campus, Greeks, non-Greeks, athletes, non-athletes, so that they can hit all of those different parts of campus, because we have about 32 undergraduates per class per year. So that's a lot of people, and so we need to get a lot of people who have their hands in a lot of different things. So hope that answers that question. Yes.
I'm curious about your Alumni magazine and Cornell magazine. Is it for alumni? Do they have to pay for the magazine subscription?
So the magazine is free online. To get the physical copy of the magazine, you have to pay dues. So we don't know how long that structure is going to last, but that's how it is right now. So in order to receive the magazine, you have to pay your class dues. Yes.
Do you have a section of your magazine that's specifically geared towards young alumni, or does anyone else have a section that's like, I know our magazine is sort of geared towards older alumni?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not that I know of. I'm sure that sometimes we'll highlight young alumni in the magazine, but I think that it's more geared towards the older alumni, and that having that physical copy of the magazine is more attractive to older alumni, whereas young alumni are like, well, I'll just get it for free online, so. Anybody else?
I just want to say, I love that Cornell Cares Day. In fact, I wrote down Queens Cares Day. And we do some community service, some of the branches, but to do it all at once is really, I think it's really powerful, really awesome. And I'm just wondering so the volunteer leaders in those, if this is correct, volunteer leaders in those areas will set up that community service opportunity for everyone. Is that how it works?
Yeah, and they work with our public service center, and our regional staff.
Yeah.
Will help them set those up.
Regional staff.
Yeah.
Okay.
We only have regional staff, so we have people in our office who work in parts of the region. We do have a regional office, physical office in New York City, and that work with the whole Northeast corridor, so New York City, DC, Boston, Philadelphia. And then we have some people who work from home offices scattered around the country. We have a large alumni population in San Francisco, but we don't actually have physical offices other than in New York City. But we have people whose jobs it is to plan events, and they have a certain territory of the country. In the back?
Yeah, so your regional clubs, the volunteers, are they focused just on alumni engagement, or do they also work on giving?
So we have both. So we have giving officers in certain regions, and we also have our engagement officers who work on engagement events in certain regions too. Yes.
Did I understand you correctly when you were talking about the welcome emails, that you said it was 3 separate emails, one from the alumni, or the young alumni team, one from the regional team, and one from the colleges?
Yeah, and so some of the colleges send them, some of them don't. Like architecture, art, and planning sends a welcome email to their alumni, which is a relatively small school. But we send one to all of our young alumni saying, hey, here are some resources, congratulations, BJ's your guy. And the regional clubs will also send, New York City has a great one-pager of, this is all the stuff going on in New York City. These are all the resources that you have. So, not all of the regions will send them. I don't know, South Dakota probably won't send a welcome email to their 3 alumni that are there.
Do you work with them on the messaging, or do they come up with it all on their own? Or how does it?
They come up with it on their own. We craft the messaging for our email. But we do work very closely with our colleagues who are wanting to work with young alumni. We'll partner with them on events and stuff like that. And if they need help crafting the messaging, we'll help them with that. We'll give them the lists of young alumni in the regions or in those schools. So Yes.
Just a couple additions from Twitter. So Megan Golden is tuning in from Bay Path University in Western Massachusetts. And she just wanted to add that for their senior class gift campaign committee, she actually sends out a request for nominations to faculty members. And many are excited to nominate a student who's passionate about the school and may not be as involved or visible, like you mentioned. And granted, they're a small university, so it's easier to manage, but I thought that was a great suggestion. And then someone asked, oh, actually, I think this is BJ from Cornell. What do you feel is a challenge facing students in the transition from student to alumni? I don't know if that's tongue in cheek because he knows you.
Thanks, BJ. I think a big problem is just a lot of Cornell students are used to succeeding in every aspect of life. And this is something that I'm really good at giving them advice on because I'm not used to that. And I've never been a planner, and lots of them are planners, and just letting them know that it's not all gonna come together right away. Get an entry-level job, get a temp job, just jump into the workforce. You're not gonna get the first job, your first dream job that you apply for. And I think that utilizing the young alumni to say, you know, if you don't get your dream job right out of college, it's okay. Like, you need to get your foot in the door places. And I think that that's one of the biggest challenges is they're scared when they graduate. And just kind of guiding them in the right direction as to, it's okay to be scared. It's a scary world out there, but you'll get it. You have a degree from one of the top-notch universities in the world, really. So, and people, that doesn't go unnoticed by employers. So, yeah.
I'm just wondering, in the breadth of programs you described, it sounds like Cornell's invested a lot into its alumni relations departments. Have you been able to calculate a return yet on your alumni, or is that basically the investment's happening now and you're going to realize return eventually?
Yeah, I mean, we have about 12, fiscal year 15, we had about 13% giving in young alumni. We want that to be higher. We're also toying around with different metrics. The Alumni Engagement Index is one that we're trying to really understand, which takes into account event attendance, giving, volunteerism. So we're really working on determining what our return on investment is and just figuring out what the right metrics are to figure out what that is. But you know, we know that our young alumni are involved and they love Cornell and they do give back. They might not necessarily give back monetarily to Cornell, but they give back in other ways. And what I mentioned before is we really want to start looking at who is engaging with the university who we don't know. Because we have many young alumni who we know them, like they're at our events, they speak, they give back, they pay their class dues, but we want to really figure out who those people are who we don't know their names, but we want to get them involved. So we're still figuring that out. We're still relatively young in comparison to a lot of other program areas in alumni affairs. So, but we're really working with the metrics and data and trying to figure out what accurately portrays our young alumni. I think that we're out of time, but please come talk to me or shoot me an email, and I can give the information of my colleagues out too, who are also very knowledgeable about students, young alumni, and thank you all so much for having me today.